Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. We have a really, really good live today. Binance is actually showing some love to Algorand. They will be doing a live AMA with John Woods, our Chief Marketing Officer. Shout out to John. Let me just tweet this out to a few people. Shout out to John. Good morning. The live is going to start in around, so I'm looking really forward to this. Let me just forward this. 1 second. Starts in all right, let's go. Cryptocurrency. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I know it's early. Maybe some people don't know, but we have an amazing live when it comes to Algorand. Eat, sleep, Algorand, repeat. Get up, wake up, brush your teeth, go clean your eyes, and let's watch this amazing AMA. Good morning, good morning, good morning, guys. We have an AMA that's about to start in 20 minutes. John Allen Woods is going to be interviewed by Binance. We're doing some more marketing. We're doing some more public relations. This is a really, really amazing thing. This is really, really amazing. All right, let me pull up the screen. One moment. Let me pull up the screen. Let me pull up the screen. Present, share screen. Is anybody in there? Nobody's talking. I feel like I'm talking to myself. This is the live. It's going to be in 15 minutes. I hope you guys are there. I can't even log into this live because I'm in the United States. In the United States, they don't like you to actually log in to make comments because you have to have a Binance account, and I don't want to use a VPN. So, but it doesn't matter. Let's watch the live AMA. It's going to be really, really good. Yeah. Yo, good morning. How are you, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much for rocking with me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Today is going to be an amazing live. Oh, let me actually put this into my Discord. Guys, if you have not seen yet, we do have a Discord. It's 100% free. Come join the Discord. It's 100% free. Let me log into my Discord. Uno momento. One second. Howdy, good morning. How are you? I cannot give you any advice about what you should or should not buy. That's up to you, my friend. That is up to you. Let me see. How do I even shout this out? Server stats. All right. So let me shout this out to my Discord. You guys all better be part of the Discord. It's 100% free. Howdy, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm about to go into jiu-jitsu, but I can't wait to watch the recording. Nice. What belt are you? Are you a BJJ brown belt? Or is that like a thumbs up? Are you a brown belt, Jose? Good morning, Skynet. How you doing? Let me see. 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 Let me add this to my room. Okay, I just shouted this out of my thing. Guys, we have 13 minutes. We're about to go. You're one stripe away from a blue belt. Nice. Where do you train? What's your lineage? What's your school? Scott, where do you train? What's your belt? What's your lineage? And congratulations. Jiu-jitsu is a very, very difficult sport. It's like YouTube. You got to put a lot of effort into it. And then finally, one day, you're rewarded. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Tea is so good in the morning. Adam making moves early. Yes, sir. Do I have a link to the live stream? Are you freaking retarded? Why would you ask me if I have a link to the live stream if you're in my live stream? Get out of here. Get out of here, bro. That's like going to a car dealership, right? Like a secondhand car dealership, or that's like going to a lease, a person that's leasing cars, and you're gonna be like, "Yo, can you give me your connection to the car dealership?" Bro, get out of here. What a stupid question. Go find it yourself. Stop being lazy, bro. A blue belt affiliated with Carlos Cantina. Nice. Nice. Congratulations. But let me ask you a question. Scott, Jose, do you guys do EBI rules or do you guys do IBJJF rules? Do you guys do real leg locks like heel hooks, 411s and things like that, saddles, or you guys are just doing like straight ankle locks and knee bars for blue belt, right? How's this for your content, Mr. Woody? How's this? Are you filming this? Let me ask you a question. You got this? Look, I did my nails. They're beautiful. What about this? You got this content? Make sure you film that. Gracie Barra, the Woodlands under Professor Alex Morano, fights in the UFC. Yeah, I know who Alex is. Very nice. Gracie Barra. Nice. They're like the largest team in the world, if I'm not mistaken. Good luck on your journey, bro. Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely a journey. Don't ask about Affinity Club. Don't forget to ask about Affinity Club. Yo, Affinity is doing really, really good, guys. Affinity is doing really good. Affinity is up 70% in the last 24 hours. 70% in the last 24 hours. You're ripping off other people's content. Not exactly. But you're too brain dead to understand that. All rule sets. I got Pan Ams coming up in March. Are you going to compete in the Pan Ams? Pan Ams is tough, man. Good luck. Good luck. If you win the Pan Ams, they're going to give you a purple belt on the spot. 64-man bracket. Nice. Heel hooks at 4-stripe white belt and 4-stripe. That's crazy. It's so funny. Back in the day, nobody wanted heel hooks. You know, back in the day, if you did any leg locks, back in the day, like 20 years ago, they used to throw slippers at you in Brazil. You know? It's okay. I have a tolerance for trolls. I like messing around with them. They're cool. But it's so stupid, bro. Thanks, you do the same. Berg, do you train? No, not me. Not me. Not me. Why algo is so behind on the market? What's your opinion about it? Bro, I don't know. I can't talk about that in like a few minutes. I have my own reasoning, but let's start with I believe that their marketing was very behind. But in the last 10 days, Stacy Warden did 3 interviews, really good interviews. I repost them so that people can see what it's all about. And besides for Stacy Warden's interviews, I also tried to do this. So Stacy Warden had 3 interviews in 10 days, and now John Allen Wood is going on Binance AMA. This is not a coincidence. They recently hired somebody called Jessica. Jessica worked at Nike, WhatsApp, and Apple, and she's the chief marketing officer by Algorand now. I might know a thing or two. I might or might not have met Henzo a couple of times. Henzo has 2 schools here. New York is one of the capitals of jiu-jitsu. You're bound to bump into people who do it. Is that the goal? Are you going to try to win Pan Ams and get your purple belt on the podium? Scott, it's all about the gear, though. I'm only going to know if you're serious once I see your rash guards. If I see your rash guards, I'll let you know if you're serious or not. Depending on what kind of rash guards you have, I can tell you exactly what kind of jiu-jitsu practitioner you are. Have I met John Danaher? I've never spoken to him. I've seen him before, but you don't really talk to John unless you're part of the, back in the day, the Danaher Death Squad. So they had Danaher Death Squad, and if you're not part of that crew, you don't speak to John, I'm sorry. He sits in the corner, and he's really quiet. A couple of my buddies were like B team, not A team, but B team of Death Squad. My pleasure. If you guys watched the last interview by Stacy Warden, she actually said that. So somebody said something, and she was on the Wolf of No Street. I have a video up on it. Everyone should watch it. And they kind of like screwed her over. They were kind of like ganging up on her. They're Bitcoin maxis. And one thing that Algorand said is, hey, they were talking about like regulations. And one thing they said is all the regulations that are coming right now, Algorand was kind of under the radar. We were the adults in the room. And now people are starting to take notice. So, yeah. By the way, guys, if you want a hoodie, Eat, Sleep, Algorand, Repeat, these are my own designs. Custom. I have a link down below. I have other crypto besides for just Algorand. And if you have a specific crypto that you want to design for, just let me know. I wouldn't charge you extra for it. I will make the design and put it up on my store. For example, if you want a Cardano or a Dogecoin or a SHIB, whatever crypto you want, I'll put it up on my store for you guys. Just tell me what you want. If you guys are getting at least one piece of merchandise, I'll make it for you. Peep the gi. Let's see. I don't see it. I don't know how you could see it. Are you sending it to me on Twitter? Guys, it's about to start in 4 minutes. 4 minutes, we go live for the AMA. Da-da-da-dum, bum, bum. Four minutes, guys. 4 minutes. I'm just killing time. I'm just killing time. But it's good, you know. It's really good that they're doing these interviews because this is exactly what we were missing. Man, I'm so tired. I'm going to Turks and Caicos on Saturday. I'm excited. I want to rest a little bit. I'm so exhausted. I've been putting in so many hours on this YouTube. Oh, by the way, I'm probably going to be starting one more YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel is going to be for crypto, but it's going to be 100% for 100% for how-to. So I'm going to do a how-to channel, how to set up wallets, how to buy certain cryptos, how to use Trust Wallet and all these different things. How to set up a ledger, basically all crypto things, crypto knowledge and crypto how-tos. Probably. A lot of people have been asking me to make some how-to videos, and I said, why don't I make a peep the gee. Oh, I saw this picture before. That's actually cool. I'm going to follow you. I just followed you. Oh, let me share it. Can I share it? When's this thing starting? All right, it's starting in 2 minutes. Let me share it. Stop screen, present, share screen. That's very nice. I like it. Good for you. You're from New Jersey? Oh, you competed in New Breed. Okay. Okay. All right. That's good. Shout out to you. I like it. I like it. Good idea, bro. Make another also for trade, please. Also for trade. What do you mean for trade? Elaborate what you mean for trade. Berg, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate you. Can the maximum supply of algo be increased? I saw a very ridiculous news that can be increased. Technically, the maximum supply of any crypto can be increased if there's a majority vote, including Bitcoin. And the majority vote is 51%, if I'm not mistaken. So in theory, yes, all crypto can be increased, but in actuality, it's not going to happen. A new trade channel. I don't know what that means. I'm not trolling you. I don't know what that means. You want me to make a channel where I trade crypto? I don't trade active cryptos. I just buy DCA $50 a day. I'm a very, very boring investor. I don't do day trading.
Are live. Hello everyone. Once again, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm getting echo. For joining the AMA once again, the Simple Earn, Binance Simple Earn AMA. And today we are very, very excited to have John Woods, CTO of Algorand Foundation with us. John, do you want to say hello and briefly introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Larry. Great to be here. Hi, folks. I'm John Woods. I'm the CTO at the Algorand Foundation. Previously, I worked on Cardano. I was the chief architect on Cardano. I've also worked on Ethereum professionally, where I did architecture and applied cryptography. So I've been on the technical side of the business, building things with blockchain professionally since around 2016. At Algorand, of course, as the CTO at the Algorand Foundation, my role is to really foster the adoption of Algorand, support the ecosystem, and educate folks on why it has value and what they can do with it.
Awesome. Thanks for the intro, John. So, yeah, we definitely have a lot of questions lined up for you today. So once again, for our viewers, 1 week ago we already posted a survey on our Twitter, collecting questions from the community, and thank you guys for the participation there. We've received a lot of interesting questions, and I guess a lot of you, are aware that John is the CTO, and the Algo team is definitely very well equipped in terms of like technical knowledge. So a lot of these questions might be a bit more technical, but I guess we're all in crypto, so this is definitely a necessity. And once again, for today's AMA, for all of the questions, you can start submitting questions in the chat now. We have Johan backstage who will help choose the questions, and if your questions get chosen, you will be eligible to receive $25 worth of Algorand Algo, within 1 month. The rewards will be distributed within 1 month of this AMA. And again, if you see your question was chosen either from the your survey on Twitter or in the live chat, congrats to you. And please do not copy other people's questions. And at
Larry,
the end,
please don't ask me any hard questions now, Larry. Okay.
It's too late for that. It's already too late for that.
Oh no.
No, but I had a chat with John, and I think he has a magic ability of explaining these extremely hard concepts that normally are just gibberish to me, and that explaining it to like a 5-year-old, he's able to make me understand, which I guess all of you will be also able to understand. But yeah, let's without further. Oh, sorry. So the last part of today's AMA. So John will have a hard stop at the hour mark, and we will have Fred also from the Algorand Foundation to come in and help you guys recap today's concepts. And we will have a prize quiz at the end. So be sure to stay till the end to participate in the prize quiz. And this time we'll get share prize pool of $2,000 worth of algo. So. All right, enough of the chit chat. Let's dive right into the questions. So first off, great question. Airdrop ZZ 2023. I guess what makes Algo unique from other projects? And I guess if you could start with what is Algorand, and in terms of what is the Algo token.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Thank you, Airdrop. So Algorand is a layer 1 blockchain. And it's programmable. So just like Ethereum, which was, I guess, the first blockchain to be programmable, on Algorand, it's not just a case of moving your tokens or spending the coins between the users and accounts within Algorand, but also you can put some logic on top of Algorand. It's kind of like Excel. You can fill out the cells and you can put in if statements, right? So if folks have used Microsoft Excel before, you can kind of program the cells. And you can say, if this cell says this, then set this other cell to something else. So Algorand, just like Ethereum, has that capability. And this is really powerful because then you can use Algorand to send money conditionally. And so we're seeing tons of incredible applications that are built like DeFi. And this programmability enables all of that. Of course, I think the key differentiator for Algorand from other layer 1 blockchains, and by the way, there are many which are very capable, is probably the team. So Algorand's founder is Silvio Micali. And folks who are maybe not from an academic background or not who haven't worked in software or in cryptography probably may not have heard of him. But Silvio is like one of the Einsteins of modern cryptography. Silvio's pioneering work over the last few decades has given us things that are household names at this point. So he was one of the forefathers of zero knowledge proofs. That technology that's used on Zcash to hide transactions, we can thank Silvio for that. And Silvio has brought for Algorand a cryptographic primitive. And so when I say cryptographic primitive, what I'm really saying is like a Lego brick, right? When you're building things with Lego, you start building things up with these smaller blocks. And so Silvio has given us some of these cryptographic Lego bricks that we can build really sophisticated systems with. So Algorand's technology benefits from Silvio's inventions. So when you look at Algorand and other cool projects in the space, you want to look for things that have best-in-class engineering and best-in-class applied cryptography. But not just that. Algorand is separated on a couple of other vectors. Number one, it has a novel consensus algorithm called pure proof of stake, which we can get into later, Larry, and I'll give you some more details on it. But this pure proof of stake makes Algorand super fast. So in Algorand, consensus is always reached. There's never any disagreement over the blocks, so there's no forking. And this means that we have finality within 3 seconds. So if you send someone some funds, or you're playing poker with friends, you send them some algo, they get that algo within 3 seconds, and they're done. There's no need to wait around for confirmations. And finally, and we can explore this a little bit further later on, but at the heart of Algorand, or any platform, there's always a brain that executes the logic, right? There's something in Algorand that's able to run the smart contracts. And that brain, sometimes known as a CPU within standard computing, is called the AVM, or the Algorand virtual machine. Ethereum has a virtual machine too. It's called the EVM, or the Ethereum virtual machine. Algorand's virtual machine is quite simple. It's quite similar rather to Ethereum's, but has some differences. Because it came after Ethereum and it was able to look back on the mistakes that were made with the EVM on Ethereum, Algorand has tried to push forward the state of the art. So the AVM, or the Algorand virtual machine, is one which focuses much more on speed and efficiency, and also precision. So there are things that you can do a lot quicker on Algorand than maybe is possible on older chains like Ethereum.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess and with regards to this question, jumping back to like what makes Algo unique, you mentioned you like first off, it's it has like programmability on, it has built like a infrastructure that enables programmability on the blockchain, right? So I guess what a lot of people have heard of is smart contracts, where it enables sort of like you mentioned the if this then that logic,
Right.
and implements it on a blockchain instead of like on a centralized server. And very similar to a lot of the layer one blockchains that we have currently. Algorand implements this as well. And I guess a lot of users may also have heard of like POS.
Yeah.
And Algorand implements a version called PPOS, right?
Right.
So pure proof of stake. Could you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and something I just call out, maybe I found this quite useful when explaining blockchain to folks. People are used to using Windows on their PCs. And Windows, people know, is an operating system. You run apps within Windows, right? Excel, Internet Explorer, whatever. On the Mac, people have Mac OS, and you run your apps on that. You run Safari or iMessage. And so people know these things as operating systems. I like to think of Algorand as a decentralized operating system. When you're running apps on your Mac, you're running them locally on your computer right in front of you. But when you run apps or smart contracts, as you say, Larry, on top of Algorand, you're doing so not just in one place, but on every computer in the Algorand network. And all those computers are watching each other's back using the consensus algorithm. So that means when you run apps, or we call them dApps, sometimes decentralized apps, or smart contracts on Algorand, by running decentralized, you can be sure that the execution of the logic inside those smart contracts was done correctly. So I think the simplest way to think of it is a decentralized operating system. And yeah, to touch on pure proof of stake. So at the heart of pure proof of stake, which is a variant of regular proof of stake, we have a cryptographic Lego brick called the VRF. VRF stands for verifiable random function. And this is some of the genius of Silvio Micali, who's our founder. Now, getting into how VRF works is, I guess, a little bit tricky without having a bit of background in it. But I like to think of it in simple terms as something where you can put in an input and you get out a signature, but also some randomness. Now, what's really important here is that, like, when you run the VRF, it's kind of like you're pulling, you're in Las Vegas and you pull on one of the slot machines and you pull the big bar down and the wheels spin around and some random values come up. And every time you run the VRF, it runs and you get these new random outputs. Although these outputs are random from this VRF, they're also deterministic. So we can look at all of the outputs. If you run it 10 times in a row and you have 10 random outputs, you can verify that they were all produced correctly. And we use this mathematical primitive, or this Lego brick, at the heart of the consensus algorithm. This randomness is used to select someone to produce a block within the overall network. So we have thousands of nodes running Algorand. And the way we produce new blocks in the blockchain is that we run this VRF, and randomly someone from all of the folks out there that are staking on the Algorand network randomly but deterministically, someone has chosen to produce a block. You run the VRF again to reduce the crowd down and basically reduce the many proposals down to one. And then finally, we run the VRF a third time to finalize the block and add it to the blockchain. And all of this happens within about 3 seconds. So when you send a transaction, it can be included in a block within 3 seconds with 3 pulls of this VRF. So this VRF thing is really the genius at the heart of pure proof of stake. And we call it pure because unlike other proof of stake mechanisms, which are sometimes delegated or sometimes in a pool, with Algorand, it really is every individual contributing to the security of the network and the VRF selecting one of those individuals to help produce the next block. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, that's super clear. And you mentioned, so could you elaborate a little bit more on like the differences between like the proof of stake, normal proof of stake and pure proof of stake? You mentioned like, like there's also a course on Binance Academy, on Algo. So if you guys are interested, you can also pull that up, while the AMA is going on. But no, there is in the article it mentioned that for pure proof of stake, the barrier to entry is lower, right? So in comparison with Ethereum, for example, you need 32 ETH in order to become a validator,
Right.
and that high barrier to entry, in terms of because 32 ETH times whatever the price, 1600, 1700 right now, is a large sum investment. I guess not a lot of people will be able to invest that amount and becoming a validator. But I guess one algo is something that a lot of people will be able to adopt and become a validator, but become a node, right? So if you could explain a bit on the nodes, the validators, and how they work together, and like differences between the normal proof of stake.
Absolutely. You know, a heartbreaking story from my own past is that in around 2015, Ethereum was trading around $6 or $7. It was kind of like the low after the DAO hack, and I lost like, you know, just playing around with Ethereum on Satoshi Dice and stuff. I lost like probably about 50 ETH. But at the time, it was only worth a couple of $100, and I didn't really care, and I just got on with things, and that was it. But now looking back, I could have been retired on an island somewhere. Okay, so pure proof of stake, as I mentioned, is where we use this randomness of the VRF to select someone from the audience of stakers. And as Larry says, you know, you don't have to have this kind of bar of like, you know, thousands of dollars worth of Algorand to participate. Anyone can participate with even a very, very small amount of algo, as in a couple of dollars worth. But of course, you will only be selected to produce a block and validate blocks based on how much stake you have. So if you have, you know, tens of thousands of algo, you're more likely to be selected to engage in consensus than say someone with 2 or 3 algo. And we do this, of course, because we need to make sure that the network is secured by those who have the greatest interest in it. So that's kind of the delta between regular proof of stake and pure proof of stake. I would say pure proof of stake as well is very energy efficient, and maybe we can come to that a little bit later. But there's also delegated proof of stake, which is used by Cardano, which is another very popular chain, and EOS and many other blockchains that are proof of stake out there. And the difference between pure proof of stake and these delegated proof of stake coins, or layer ones rather, is that with delegated proof of stake, you band together and you stake your coins to a pool. And so within Algorand, we don't really have this concept of pool production. Within Cardano, a bunch of folks will get together in a staking pool, and they will combine all of their Cardano together, and then that pool will collectively create blocks. On Algorand, this pure proof of stake mechanism allows us not to have those pools. So we try to think of it as having less centralization, because people are really standing on their own 2 feet and not banded together in pools as they would be in proof of work or in delegated proof of stake.
All right, awesome. So I think the takeaway here is, so pure proof of stake uses the VRF that you mentioned to choose from, to randomly choose from the CEO validators,
right?
And to propose the next block, right?
Exactly.
And in terms of I think in the article there's also the concept of relay and participation
Sure.
nodes. Could you shed a bit of light on that?
Yeah, yeah. The 20-second thing there is they're both the same code base. So the same software runs both relays and participation. The difference is just how they're configured. When configured as participation, they're performing consensus. That's all they do. They create blocks, they validate blocks. When configured as a relay, they're like a super highway for blocks. So they transmit the blocks around. So once more, participation is really creating blocks and validating blocks, doing the consensus and processing transactions. And the relays are sending the data around. They're the information superhighways of the network, sharing the data between the consensus nodes or the participation nodes, we call it.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next question, and congrats, Noah, on the question on the proof of stake. All right. So next question is from Flob6. So what is the relationship between Algorand Foundation and Algorand Inc?
Cool. Yeah. Hi, Flob6. So in a nutshell, the Algorand Inc. Is based in the United States. They are a software house. Their job is to write the software for the protocol. So they are the coders that work on the Algorand protocol. And the Algorand Foundation is a non-US entity, so it's not based in the United States. And the Algorand Foundation's job is to safeguard the treasury, to invest in the ecosystem, to foster adoption, to do AMAs like this, to educate folks, and to enhance the user experience of Algorand users.
So, okay, Algorand Foundation is more on like ecosystem development. I guess also a lot of the foundations, two layer ones is grants, hackathons, hosting grants, hackathons, and really just developing the whole Algorand ecosystem. Whereas the Algorand Inc. is a software company based in US, pushing forward the development.
And we still work with these folks. We still engage in technical debates and share specifications for the code. And I mean, it's not like they're not completely working on their own in isolation. We talk, of course, but yeah, fundamentally they're the software engineers, and we are working on boosting the ecosystem.
Awesome. All right. So, question from Fujiro asks, what are the Algorand strength compared to their competitors or other layer ones? I guess.
Yeah, sure, Fujiro. Thanks for the question. So, I would say, and this is kind of a roundabout way of saying it, but I'll give some examples. That Algorand is fit for purpose. And so, what I mean is, I've built on many of the blockchains, and I found sometimes there was limiting factors that gave a user experience for those running apps on the blockchains or dApps or smart contracts that wasn't that great. And I find that Algorand checks enough of the boxes that the user experience when you're using a dApp, whether that's to play a game or whether that's something more serious like global remittance, when you're using these dApps in Algorand, you're going to have an experience that's really good. And so what are the characteristics of Algorand that really create that strength? It's scalable. And what I mean by that is it operates at the same speed, whether we're seeing 20 transactions a second or whether we're seeing 7,000 transactions a second. The same 3-second finality is there. A transaction is sent and confirmed every time within that 3 seconds, whether or not the network is at capacity or it's only a trickle. It's resilient. And what I mean by that is Algorand has not had any downtime since it began 3 years ago. Now, I want to be clear. That doesn't mean we'll never see any downtime. It doesn't mean it's perfect. I'm not saying the code is perfect. Code is imperfect by definition, I think, actually, as a software engineer. But as of now, it's been built in a way that the architecture and the design has proven so far, touch wood, to be resilient. And so that's important because you want the blockchain to be there when you want to use it, right? It's no good if you go to use this thing and it's down for 4 hours. And it's secure. And I've talked about that briefly when I talked on pure proof of stake. That fundamental consensus mechanism ensures the security of the network. And so we strongly believe that pure proof of stake is a highly secure mechanism with which to safeguard users' funds. I would say as well, though, there's more than just that. Let me just touch on when you're building enterprise-grade apps for users. So let's say you're building a big DEX. It's not just something that's a pet project, but something that's going to be used by tens of thousands of users. You want that experience for the end user to be quick, fun, and cheap. And so one of the novel factors with Algorand, so Algorand is a blockchain, right? It's not a DAG. It's a blockchain like other blockchains. So you have a block, and it's linked to the next block cryptographically, and it's linked to the next block cryptographically. And so one of the things, though, you see in other chains, let's say Ethereum, is this idea of a fork height battle, or a block height battle, as you sometimes termed. And what this is a block is produced, another block is produced, things are good, and blocks are being created, and all of a sudden there's a split in consensus. This is normal, by the way. It happens from time to time. And so you have, rather than having a single blockchain, you have this like two-headed snake. Now, this doesn't last very long. After about 5 or 6 blocks, one of the chains will die away, and then everyone will switch to the longest chain. This happens in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, etc. It's not a big deal. The software is built on to handle this. But you see, if you're in the one of the chains that dies away, your transaction is effectively reverted. So let's say you sent your friend $100, and if you were unfortunate enough to be on one of these short forks that dies away, your $100 is just returned to you. Now the problem is that's okay for you because you notice it in your personal wallet and you just send it again. But if you're building an enterprise-grade application for thousands of users, it gets really messy. So I can tell you, when I was building on Ethereum, a lot of the time I spent designing middleware or software that would help monitor for these forks and replay transactions if necessary. And this is really time-consuming. On Algorand, consensus is always reached on 100% of the time. So we never have these short forks. So we say there's no forks on Algorand. And so with this, it ensures that you don't have to worry about these replays. And this greatly simplifies when you're building enterprise-grade applications for thousands of users. So I would say that's a strength. And then finally, I just want to touch on our DevRel guys. We have a team of DevRel, developer relation engineers. And so if you want to build on Algorand, we're going to give you a concierge or white glove level service. And what that means is if you have any idea and you're interested in building, whether you're a small one-person shop or whether you're an enterprise-grade company with hundreds of engineers, we have free white glove service. You can come to us, we'll help you design, audit, implement, and make sure that you get to mainnet to bring your idea to the public. So that's there for everyone. And I think these are the things that separate us from, I think, the other chains that are out there at the moment.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess this is one of the major highlights of Algorand. First off, you mentioned in terms of the vision, it's a fit for purpose blockchain, right? And then in terms of like the infrastructure, there's no forks where in other consensus algorithms there are short forks, and then it goes back to the longest chain. But with how Algorand is designed, there won't be these kind of cases. So essentially, I think from a software developer point of view, this design can really minimize the friction of onboarding new developers.
Exactly.
And then you lastly mentioned, like, I guess for blockchain to succeed, definitely the developer relationships is you have to have the developers to have good apps, and then in order to get users, right? So
Right.
coming from a developer relationship perspective, this is one of the strongest advantages that Algorand possesses. And yeah, I think also building on this question and the last question, one of our live audiences has asked, what is AVM and smart contract? So I guess they did a little bit of homework as well. So we mentioned already PPOS, the pure proof of stake, and I guess here AVM is I'm referring to the Algorand virtual machine. So if you could first give a brief introduction on what virtual machine is for users that aren't, computer science background.
Sure.
And I guess a lot of people have heard of EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, and then what AVM is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And was it Jelu? Thank you for the question, Jelu. Okay, so where do I start on this? So I mentioned earlier that Algorand and other blockchains like Ethereum that support smart contracts are really like distributed or decentralized operating systems. The apps you run on your MacBook are called apps. The apps you run on your iPhone are called apps. And the apps you run on Algorand are called dApps, or decentralized apps. So a smart contract is just another way of saying an app for Algorand. The AVM is the Algorand virtual machine. And so folks will know that computers have CPUs. So they have a brain. Every computer has a chip inside it, like Intel chips or AMD chips or Apple Silicon. These are common processors that are inside your computer, and their job is to do the calculations, right? Whether it's rendering video games or adding up numbers. And so the Algorand virtual machine, just like the Ethereum virtual machine, is really the brain or the processor of the Algorand platform. And so whenever you write a DApp or a smart contract, you compile that code into an app that's ready to run on Algorand. You upload it to the blockchain. It's the AVM that will take that code that you've written and run it. So the AVM is the brain of the Algorand platform, and it's quite similar to the EVM in the sense that they both do the same thing. They run code. The difference between the EVM and the AVM is that inside that brain, it's wired a little differently. And so the EVM is excellent and it can do a hell of a lot of things. The AVM is excellent and can do the same things, but it tries to do them faster and with more precision. And when I say more precision, what I mean is when you're dealing with numbers or integers within the AVM, and this is more of a software engineering thing, the Algorand virtual machine can handle large numbers with ease. And this means that you can kind of do things quicker and you can do them more accurately within the AVM. Hope that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, no, I think the comparison with the AVM and EVM is great, and like you mentioned that it's the virtual machine is sort of like the brain, uh, the brains of the computer, right? Helping running the programs, and so, all right. So next question is from Tamina 1350. So what okay, so what makes Algorand a green blockchain? So I guess they already have some background on this, but
Cool, yeah.
yeah.
Thanks, Tamina. Yeah, so I mean, look, Algorand runs on about 80 kilowatts of instantaneous energy. And for folks out there who are not electrical engineers, if you're using a shower at home, you're using about 10 kilowatts, okay? And Algorand, that's a power shower, an electric power shower. If you're boiling a kettle, you might be using 4 kilowatts. Algorand, the entire network is running on 80 kilowatts. And so this is a network that's processed billions of transactions and processes millions of dollars a day in terms of volume, tens of millions mostly. And so for 80 kilowatts, which is basically like charging a Tesla or charging a standard electric vehicle, the amount of juice that your electric car uses when it's plugged in, that's about 80 kilowatts if you're plugged in on the sidewalk. And so I think that that's pretty green, right? That's pretty efficient. And so it's so green and efficient that we can take all of the carbon that Algorand produces by running these computers over the course of a year. And every year we go out to the market and we buy carbon credits and we execute, usually on chain using something like climate trade. We execute a trade where we purchase the carbon to ensure that we are carbon offset. And in most cases, carbon not only neutral, but carbon negative. So we have actually taken carbon out of the atmosphere for the execution of Algorand. So Algorand, its pure proof of stake mechanism is so power efficient that the computers that are hosting the Algorand network only use about as much power as a charging electric vehicle. And look, if you take other proof of stake networks, they are somewhere a little bit more energy usage than us, not an order of magnitude more. But of course, if you start then moving to proof of work, which is a different consensus algorithm that uses computation to secure the network, you then see that order of magnitude jump in terms of power consumption. So Algorand really is one of the greenest blockchains out there.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, proof of work, in order to reach consensus, miners have to consume a lot of computation, right? So that's why they need a lot of sort of like mining computers, and which consumes a lot of energy. And for proof of stake blockchains, this and with the Ethereum merge last year, a lot of these proof of stake blockchains have moved to a really low energy consumption. And in addition to that, Algorand also has committed to buying carbon credits off the market, so that in general, in some, the blockchain itself is carbon negative. And yeah, so great question from Tamina. So I think we have a developer also in the audience. So Writing Coffee asks, when is Algo Kit going to be released? I guess first off, what is Algo Kit?
Yeah.
And then you can maybe let us know more about the timelines.
Sure. Writing Coffee. Thanks for the question. So, one of the most fundamental things that I think Algorand needs to work on is the developer experience. And so what do I mean by that? When you're developing an Android app or an iPhone app on a modern operating system, on a modern laptop, you've got a great user experience. It's file, new project, you get all the tools in one place that you need to realize your idea, your game, your app, okay? And when you're building and writing that code, it's easy to test, it's easy to deploy into an app and test on your phone, and the overall experience is fun. Even most times quite visual, so you can test in a visual simulator and run your app right there in a virtual Android phone on your computer. If we want to see Algorand, well, this is my vision, but if we want to see Algorand grow into an enormous chain with trillions of dollars of value, we have to make the experience of building apps or smart contracts on Algorand easy peasy. So much so that not even just for professional developers, but we have to make it easy enough that even a young person who's 14, 15 years old, who's a beginner in computers, can take a stab at doing this and play with it. And so Algo Kit is that. Algo Kit is software that makes it fun and easy to build on Algorand. Algo Kit's first release is next month. So at the end of March next month, we're going to have Algo Kit version 1.0. And that's going to give developers the kind of tools that they're used to when they're doing modern development. So things like visual debugging, simulators locally for their code, command line tools that they can build, test, and deploy in one command. And indeed, it totally changes the paradigm when you're developing. So rather than writing code in a very old style, line by line, you're going to write it in a much more kind of focused way where you concentrate on the contract and not all the boilerplate and stuff around. So Algo Kit version 1.0 is going to be a revolution in terms of how you build apps for Algorand. It's going to make it super easy. Algo Kit version 2 is going to be at the end of 2023, early 2024. We already have some very exciting things that we're going to bring for V2. So V1 is going to be great. I don't want to sabotage V1 by talking too much about V2, but I think V1 is going to make it just such a nice thing, such a nice experience when you build it. And also just to mention to folks, with these tools, even when they're easy, people still need to know how to use them. And so we're going to be releasing a series of short videos because people don't like to sit down anymore for 2 hours, right? They want to watch 5-minute videos and learn a thing or two. So we're going to release 30 videos, which are 5 to 10 minutes long. That's going to teach you how to use Algo Kit in a fun and simple way. And you can watch them while you're sitting on the sofa in the evening time.
Yeah, I think a lot of the themes on the advantages of Algorand has really revolved around how it is very developer friendly, right? And really, I think again, worth mentioning is that for a blockchain to succeed, I guess really it's adoption from users, where and good apps. And
Totally.
so John already mentioned that in addition to the infrastructure, to the sort of like the superior infrastructure in terms of like no fork management and white gov developer relationships. Now there's also Algo Kit, which is a very easy or developer friendly way for users to get into the Algorand ecosystem. And I guess I'm not sure if this is a good comparison, but I guess the Apple ecosystem with Swift, where Swift is a very easy language to learn and very playful language. And I also saw I guess an interview or speech on YouTube with you explaining a bit more on these developer kits. So for those that are interested, or for coffee, if you're interested, I guess you can go there
Sure.
to check on that video as well.
Yeah, that's exactly it, though. I think with Swift, Apple have opened up development to everyone. You don't have to be a computer nerd anymore. You can be just someone who just wants to sit down for half an hour and try. And so that's where we need to get. And it's also where I'm pushing to take development of the smart contracts or the dApps to be in a place where we use traditional languages. So people want to use Python. They don't want to use some new language that they have to learn. And that's where we need to get to.
Awesome. Thanks, John. So next question from Adani is, how serious does Algorand take security? And have you done, or has Algorand has done any security audits?
Sure. So, from my time working on Cardano as an example, because I worked there on the protocol rather than on the ecosystem, I was involved directly on the protocol with Cardano. I can tell you, these serious, credible Layer 1 projects take security extremely serious. When we're releasing software on Algorand, and when I was releasing software over Cardano, we have to make sure that the software is as close to perfect as possible. Now, perfection in software is a pipe dream. It's not possible. There's always going to be bugs, especially in software that's as sophisticated as these applications that we're talking about. But ultimately, this is people's livelihoods. It's people's money. And in some cases, people shouldn't have, they should try to avoid having too much money in these things if they can't afford it. But sometimes this can be a person's entire life savings, as an example. So we have to make sure that we take that responsibility really, really seriously. And so I can tell you at Algorand, just as I did at Cardano, we take that gargantuan responsibility really seriously. So yes, we do audits on many, many different things. We're going to have MetaMask support coming up soon. So that is the ability for you to use MetaMask, the Ethereum wallet that many of you will know, of course, and use that to hold, spend, and interact with dApps on Algorand. So there's going to be Algorand support in MetaMask. For that product, we had to write that code to integrate with MetaMask, and it's undergoing audit right now. So we care deeply that if we're releasing something that's going to hold users' funds, that it's going to be audited. In terms of the node itself, though, the core software that runs the Algorand participation and relay nodes, it's not possible to audit the entire code base every time we make a release. Audits are really, really expensive, especially for very sophisticated software. And they also take a ton of time. And so the development of cryptocurrencies would be really, really slow if we had an audit every single time we release something. So in lieu of that, because of course it's just prohibitively expensive and prohibitively time consuming, we use a slew of techniques to make sure the quality of the software is good. So we use things like formal methods. This is mathematical proofs of the correctness of the software. And this takes time too, but you can actually prove that the software is correct using mathematics. We have a very, very elaborate test suite. So every release of Algorand will go through a battery of tests where it gets hailed with various bullets, testing every single aspect of it. And we add to these tests every single time we add a new feature. By running these tests, we can very quickly assess whether or not the changes we've made have broken anything that was working correctly before. And then finally, we run the software through a bunch of benchmarks. And this tests the performance of it and really kind of puts it through its paces. Very much like putting it on a treadmill and seeing how it performs. And if you combine all of these things together, the test suite, the QA, the quality assurance, the benchmarks, the formal methods, and that dedication to quality, we have a pretty bulletproof system so far. But of course, as I've said before, bugs are there. Bugs are in every piece of software, and we try our best to make sure we don't release with any serious ones.
All right. So next question is from Snake. Yes, 97097 is, what are the cryptographic techniques used by Algorand to ensure that transactions are transparent and tamper-proof, and how do they contribute to overall security?
Sure, absolutely. So Snake Eyes, thanks for the question. So my background is actually in applied cryptography as well. And so this is a question that I'm quite personally interested in, but I'll keep it as quick as possible because obviously it's a rabbit hole. So in terms of the public-private keys, people will know that cryptocurrencies like Algorand use public key cryptography. So you have a public key and a private key. Your private key is how you spend algo and how you create transactions, and your public key is actually your receive address. And so within this public-private key pair stuff, there's many different ways to do it. And so we use a scheme called ED 25519. And this is a state-of-the-art elliptic curve cryptography scheme. It's a signature algorithm that allows a person to generate a private key easily and issue transactions with that private key. This Edwards 25519 elliptic curve is state-of-the-art. And it's used by Monero, it's used by Cardano, and many other chains. We also, in terms of like keeping the transactions, the veracity of the blocks, making sure that the blockchain has a chain. The chain we use between the blocks for the blockchain is a hashing algorithm we use called SHA-2. So we fingerprint a block and we inject that fingerprint or that hash digest into the next block, so that each block is mathematically linked. So I would say that they're the two primitives. We also have some post-quantum security that we've introduced using Falcon, which is a lattice-based post-quantum signature scheme. But I think that's probably a bit too much to talk about for now. But yeah, some state-of-the-art crypto in there.
Yeah, I think the only takeaway I can conclude there is that it's state of the art state of the art technology. But no, I think the we could go into a whole crash course on what you've just mentioned.
Sure.
Let me do my best and try not to sabotage what you just said. But generally, there are two technologies here: SHA-2, SHA-2, and ED 25519. So I guess SHA-2 is more common. Some of you even not in the computer science. This is a very common cryptography technology, right? So in terms of hashing, where blocks, like you mentioned, and a great visual example there, where hashing, where how blocks link together, they use that SHA-2 function. And then in terms of the ED 25519, that is the proprietary cryptography technology that Algorand implements. It's the signing. It's for signing the transactions. And you mentioned something called the elliptic curve. So yeah, could you give some context or background on what an elliptic curve is? I guess this is also very common in blockchains as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it doesn't matter what you're using: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Monero, Algorand, Near, you name it, Solana. They all use elliptic curve cryptography. It's a common technology across all blockchains, pretty much. And it's just a way to do public-private keys. So with a public key, you want to be able to verify signatures with the private key. And with the private key, you want to be able to create signatures that can be verified with the public key. And so you could do that using RSA. People might have heard of RSA. They used to use it in banks quite a lot. But elliptic curves are just another way to do this using two-dimensional curved geometries over finite fields. It's quite a complicated thing to explain, really, but it's basically just some mathematics that we can use to build on these public-private key pairs.
Got it. Yeah, just Google it if you if you don't understand it.
Yeah, don't read the Wikipedia article. It took me about 5 years to understand it. So
no, we'll have to invite you back to launch a whole crash course on cryptography. But no, a great I guess a great follow-up question here, and thanks for the question. Algo update. You mentioned the last part was the Falcon the Falcon lattice. So here you mentioned something about quantum computing. I mean quantum proofs, or
yeah.
The question is, in what ways are quantum proofs superior to zero knowledge proofs, and how can other blockchains adopt quantum proofs to improve their security?
Sure. So these are two different things. Zero knowledge and quantum technologies are two different things. So I'll just try to give a very short 1-minute answer on both. Zero knowledge proofs is the idea that you can prove to someone that you know something without revealing what it is. And a very simple example of this is this. Imagine we have two people and they're standing outside of a tunnel. And the tunnel wraps around like this, like a big N shape. If there's a gate in the tunnel that has a PIN code inside, and you need to enter the PIN code to go through the metal gate to get back out. So if you go in one side of the tunnel, you get to the gate. If you don't know the code, it's locked. And you verify that it's locked together. So if this gentleman who's with me, for example, wants to prove to me with zero knowledge that he knows the code to that gate, he can do one thing. We can both walk into the tunnel. We can check the gate is locked. I can leave the tunnel and I can stand there looking at both the entrance and the exit. I know he went into the entrance, and if he comes out the exit, I know he must have known the code to the gate, because there was no way for him to pass the gate and come back out the exit. And that's a simple visual example of a zero knowledge proof. That person would have showed me or proven to me that he knew the code to the gate without actually telling me the code. That's zero knowledge. I don't get the code, but he did prove it to me. Zero knowledge proofs can be used in blockchains for some really groovy things. They tend to be used for security and for succinctness. So this is where you can say, rather than give me a lot of data, you can just give me a tiny bit of data and a proof that shows that it represents some larger set. Or the most common use case for zero knowledge proofs that I've seen is privacy. And so on blockchains like Zcash and Monero and others, they use zero knowledge proofs in order to provide a privacy where a person can't see who you're spending the coins to, nor how much is being spent, but they can validate that the transactions being created, although they can't see too much information about them, are valid. And so this is a really great technology. So that's ZKP, zero knowledge. Moving now to quantum. Most computers that we use, or all computers that we use, I should say, from your iPhone to your Windows desktop, are what are called classical computers. They have CPUs inside, like I described earlier on, similar to the AVM. They run normal applications. Well, there's a theorized computer called a quantum computer. And you can think of this in some government basement in the NSA somewhere, a shiny computer from the future with twinkling lights with a purple glow maybe. And this computer harnesses the power of quantum mechanics, in particular quantum superposition, in order to basically do many things at once in a very parallelized way. This computer is a theoretical possibility. We haven't seen any real ones yet, but it's theorized that because we're making a lot of progress technologically, both Google, IBM, and other major companies are coming out with these quantum computers that are getting better and better and better. They're still nowhere near the standard that's needed to just shred up cryptography, but they're getting closer. And so this is like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse for modern cryptography. We have to move to technologies that are able to withstand an attack from one of these shiny quantum computers. And so at Algorand, we have started that journey. There are 3 different ways you need to be quantum secure. So you're secure against this supercomputer from the future. One is in the history of the chain, making sure people can't arbitrarily go back and use this special computer to change transactions that were previously done. The second is in your account. You want to make sure that your account balance can't be spent. So if I have 100 Bitcoin, a quantum computer could theoretically take that from me. You need to secure your account from being against quantum attacks. And that means employing a quantum secure signature scheme. And finally, the consensus algorithm, whether it's the VRF used in pure proof of stake or the SHA-2 proof of work used in Bitcoin. You need to make sure that your consensus algorithm is also quantum secure. So these are 3 things we need to do. And there's no blockchain out there so far that I'm aware of that's done any of it, except for Algorand. We've taken down the first leg of this journey. We've employed a thing called state proofs, which themselves in turn use a post-quantum or a quantum safe signature scheme called Falcon. This is one that was developed by scientific minds around the world. It's been validated by the US government and others for use. And it uses a mathematical technique called n-dimensional lattices. And these are like clouds of points in space. But ultimately, these lattice-based signatures are safe against this twinkly quantum computer. And so we have them on Algorand protecting the history of the chain, but we still need to add them to the signatures to protect the accounts and add them to the consensus to protect the future of the chain. And so I hope that makes sense. That's ZKPs and quantum in maybe a little bit longer than 2 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah, so this is going to be a challenge for me, but let me try to unpack that a little bit. I guess that's another series of crash course. But thanks so much for. I think first off for ZKPs, for zero knowledge proofs, you gave a very visual example, right? But the takeaway there is really just proving something to you without giving giving you as less information as possible, but proving that something is true, or proving something to you without giving you too much information.
Right.
And I think the tunnel is a pretty classic example, which I guess for the viewers, if you're interested, you can Google that up. And ZKP is very, very popular in the crypto space. So that's definitely something that you would want to learn about with your journey going forward in crypto. And then for quantum proofs, I guess for current cryptology, the essence is that you just make something that's so complicated that it takes normal computers forever to be able to solve. But there's definitely some like a time where if given enough time, they can solve that problem.
Absolutely.
Or they can decrypt a certain problem. But with just the computation power, it will take forever. However, for like you mentioned, there are I love that I love that visualization, the shiny computer under in the NSA's basements, which has superior computing power, which can shatter the current um, cryptography algorithms
Exactly
so
that.
the Algorand is already planning ahead in this sense, and you mentioned like in 3 ways in terms of a blockchain, how to protect against if the emergence of a quantum computer, how to protect against an attack, a theoretical attack from a quantum computer, and this is where quantum proofs come in. So yeah, I guess you mentioned 3 legs. The first off is the chain itself. I have a quick question here. So in terms of like choosing that they cannot making sure that they cannot change the past records, is this similar to what like the longest chain method does in terms of like a lot of these consensus mechanisms, they go to like choosing the longest chain available. But you also mentioned like there's no forks in Algorand, but I'm not sure if that's relevant to this. If you could
Yeah, sure. So,
elaborate a bit.
there's various algorithms that a quantum computer can use to be effective. And so for symmetric primitives, like SHA-2 and AES and other encryption technologies, we can use an algorithm called Grover's algorithm on a quantum computer. And this will be able to break, rather, I should say, forge fraudulent links between blocks. So if someone has one of these quantum computers, they can potentially swap out transactions in a really old block, recreate, break SHA-2 in a way that we can, recreate the bond and kind of forge a fake transaction so that people can double spend and mess around with the history of the chain. By taking the entire history of the chain and pushing it through a signature using a post-quantum scheme like Falcon, we can effectively put a stamp on all of the things that have been done up to date. So maybe we did this, a few months back, but let's say all of from the blockchain from block 1 all the way to like a couple of months ago, we basically stamped that with Falcon, and now it's signed in a way that if anyone changes it, they'll also have to change the Falcon signature on it, or people won't trust it. And they can't change the Falcon signature on it because they'd have to break Falcon, which is post-quantum secure. So even if a quantum computer does break our traditional cryptography, securing the links between the blocks, they won't be able to override that stamp that we put on it with Falcon. And then the other 2 pieces, as you mentioned, are the accounts and then the future or the consensus mechanism. Does that make sense?
All right. Yeah. Thanks for that. So quantum proofs. I saw a question also from the chat. Brute. I guess Brute. B route. Could you explain what state proof is in bridges in the context of bridges? But generally, I think quantum proof is the same as state proofs.
Yep. So state proofs use this quantum technology. So B-Route, thanks for the question. State proofs do 3 really cool things. Number 1, state proofs are the issuance of quantum signatures on the chain. So we use this post-quantum technology Falcon in state proofs. So state proofs are the technology that are securing, from a quantum point of view, the history of the chain. That's number 1. Number 2, state proofs allow us to quickly catch up the chain. So rather than validate every block from the very beginning, which is very computationally expensive, one can use state proofs to just jump straight away to the top block on the chain, or within a couple of 100 blocks from the top of the chain, and trust the state proof that the current, if you like, state of the chain is valid. So you don't have to go get all the blocks, validate them all. Instead, you can just jump straight to the top of the queue and check the state proof in a second or 2, and then straight away okay, I'm good from here. I don't have to go back and do that homework. And that allows people to build nodes that can catch up really fast, that they don't have to sync from the beginning. Super good. And then finally, to answer the question, state proofs are primarily a bridging technology. So let's talk about bridges. Blockchains are like islands, and so they don't naturally talk to each other, despite the fact that they're running on computers that are connected to the internet. These applications don't talk to each other the same way, I guess, your browser doesn't naturally talk to your Maps app. Okay, you got to copy paste the data between them. And so to build a bridge between blockchains, you have to do the following 2 things. Number 1, you got to create an endpoint and a receive point So you got to have a smart contract or a DApp on one chain and a smart contract or a DApp on the other chain, where you lock funds on one side and release them on the other. And then when you want to go back the other way, when you want to bridge back, you lock funds on one side and you release them on the other. Okay, so that's one part of an architecture for a blockchain bridge. The second piece, though, is in the middle. How do you validate that this blockchain locked the coins and this blockchain is okay to release? And vice versa, when this blockchain finally locks to go back, how do you validate that it's okay now to release? You'd have to communicate the state of both blockchains to each other. You'd have to prove to each blockchain that this guy has locked, you can release. This guy has locked, now you can release. And so that's what state proofs do. They succinctly prove the state of the Algorand blockchain to anyone who's out there. So you can, without having a guardian layer or a layer of validators, most bridges have this like human element where they have 10, 15, 20, 30 people who are validators for bridges like Wormhole. And they'll watch transactions on both sides, on both chains, and they will attest to the veracity or the correctness of that. So when a bridge needs to happen, they lock the tokens, they ask the validators, is it good? And then if those humans say yes, we release the coins and the bridge is done. That's okay, but we're still trusting humans. State proofs lets us trust the math instead. And so state proofs are a mathematically secure way to validate the state on Algorand with a tiny piece of data. The state on Algorand, of course, is gigabytes and gigabytes of data, but state proofs are only about 3 or 4 megabytes. They're tiny. And so they use a very powerful technique. It's basically a threshold multi-signature reveal that's been signed by a post-quantum fast Fourier lattice-based signature. So it's very complicated technology, but at its essence, what does it do? It can take all of Algorand, run it through a state proof, and give you a tiny piece of data that can prove to Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Cardano, whoever. You can prove to any blockchain out there that, hey, the state of Algorand has these coins locked. It's okay to bridge them across. So that's state proofs in a nutshell. We should I'm happy to do a deep dive on it at some point. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I'll definitely take you on that that rain check. And I know you have a hard stop on the clock, so thank you so much. I think this was super educational, and I guess all of you viewers definitely learned a lot. But we do have some homework to do, I guess, on the content today. But yeah, Fred. So are you ready to come onto stage? And John. So yeah, once again, thank you so much. We do still have some questions to cover. We'll have Fred come up to answer the rest. And John, thank you once again. I know you have a very, very busy schedule. We're very excited. We hope to have you onto some deep dives and delve into some of the rabbit holes you left for us today. But all right, with that,
thank you
so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Fred. What's up?
Hey,
All right,
Larry.
John, you can step off. Thank you, John. All right.
What a treat, huh?
It is. I think my brain is already on overdrive. So I guess
John
we can
does
also
that to you.
yeah, with all of like the technical terms. But I mean, John, I think he really his magical power is being able to explain these very extremely complicated concepts. I guess each of these topics can be a course, a university lecture itself, but able to condense that into just a few seconds or a few minutes of an answer is amazing.
100%.
And I guess like
that is
myself,
that is John's superpower, right? I mean, he's extremely technical guy, but has a gift of communication. He makes these concepts that are hard to grasp so clear that it's always a treat listening to him speak about all these amazing build-ups of the Algorand protocol.
Yeah, so really appreciate this opportunity. But anyways, with you on the stage, Fred, do you want to give a brief introduction about yourself, and then we can cover some of the questions that we didn't get to answer with John?
Absolutely. So for the entire Binance community that's listening to us live right now, of course, you're going to catch the recording later. I'm Fred Stante. I'm head of product marketing here at the Algorand Foundation, but I've been also just, a very active member of the Algorand community for the past 3.5 years. So, very excited to take on the few last questions that John didn't have time to cover today.
Awesome. It's awesome to have you on, Fred. So, all right. So let's jump right into the questions. So I guess we do have, I guess two or three more questions, and then we'll jump into the AMA recap, which Fred, I hope you can assist me because
Absolutely.
Algorand is definitely a very tech heavy concept to cover. All right, so next, let's see. We have a question from the chat. Shochan asks, "What is virtual boot camps, and how can one join the virtual
Absolutely.
boot
So
camps?"
John mentioned that developer experience is the number one, number two, and number three goals for this year, right? And virtual bootcamps are part of it because they're going to allow us to reach a broader and larger developer community in the world, the entire world. So not only Web 2 developers, but also Web 3, and that's one of the things that we're doing to bring, this mass of developers to Algorand. So the virtual bootcamps are a series of events that we host online, and also some of them have a physical component to them that is basically created to foster the development of the Algorand blockchain. Next week, and Binance community, stay tuned because we're going to be releasing the calendar for 2023 with many events, amazing events. They're going to take you basically from zero to hero in developing an Algorand.
Where is it going to be released?
It's going to be released throughout all of our social channels, our website. So, Binance community, make sure to check and follow Algorand in all of our social channels. If you're on Twitter, just go to @Algorand and @Algo Foundation. If you are on Reddit, just go to r/Algorand official. If you're on Discord, just go to GG/Algorand. We're easy to find. Stay tuned to our socials because we have a very nice set of events coming up this year to help the developers get up to speed and building very quickly on Algorand.
Yeah, so I showed the Twitter handle onto the screen here. So yeah, if you want to follow on the schedules, be sure to follow them on those channels as well. But of course, we'd love to have you guys on again to cover all of the amazing updates you have going forward. So next question would be, let's see. Okay, so how is the community involved in Algorand?
Oh, this is a perfect question. I think it's good timing, right? Because I mentioned that I come from the community. I'm a community member for many years. So the community is heavily involved in Algorand. We have this, growing, robust, vibrant community across the entire spectrum of the Algorand ecosystem. So you basically, you have the builders, you have the DeFi enthusiasts, you have the artists, you have the NFT collectors, and you have a lot of people that truly care about the Algorand protocol, the technology, and what the future holds for our blockchain. So the community is heavily involved throughout all of these fronts. We have had many members of the community that became builders, became developers, became founders. Many of them, of course, are artists and are very involved in the whole NFT scene that we have. But I guess one of the biggest places where our community has a huge impact is through our governance program. So about in September of 2021, if memory serves me right, we've launched the first period of the governance, the Algorand governance protocol, and until then we've hosted several periods of these where basically the entire community is able to participate in a permissionless and trustless manner in the decision making of the future of the Algorand protocol. So if you're an enthusiast of technology and you truly believe in the potential that the Algorand blockchain has, you get involved in our governance protocol and you help vote on the decisions that the Algorand Foundation puts forward to shape the future of our blockchain. And most recently, you have voted on a set of measures that's going to give even more power to the community for the community to actually be able to propose new measures and propose use of fund allocations and many other things that are very exciting. We're in the building mode right now, and of course the community is heavily involved in that. So yes, there are many ways that the community is already involved in the Algorand in the Algorand ecosystem as a whole. There's going to be many more moving forward. It's very exciting times for our protocol.
Yeah, no, I wasn't aware of that as well. So in terms of like the Algorand community, now you're the head of product marketing. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow, it's a very inspiring story. But yeah, I guess being involved in the Algorand community can definitely this is I guess Algorand is a very the takeaway here is Algorand is a very community driven blockchain where everyone's within the community, as long as there's valuable propositions, discussions going on, that can definitely or even like if I guess would there be career opportunities also for the community members? But yeah, great answer. Yeah. Okay. So thanks, Fred. Next question from Okay, from Shochan9 again, great question. Does Algorand have plans to implement layer 2?
Fantastic. All right. So I wish John was here because he has a beautiful answer to this, but I'll do my best to cover in a sense that, I think John covered really well all the basics of the Algorand protocol and the technology stack that basically makes us so efficient. And, I think it's become clear that Algorand is truly, a next level blockchain, right? So extremely fast, we're scalable, we have high throughput, we're secure, we're cheap to transact on. So, in the past, we didn't truly see a necessity for deploying a layer two solution on Algorand. However, that changed during 2022. And in late 2022, in October, if I'm not mistaken, we actually launched the very first layer two to Algorand. But it's not a standard layer two like you see in other ecosystems that are basically meant to try to drive up throughput and allow more people to transact and try to reduce the cost of transacting. Because Algorand, we're already very scalable in that front. But we actually brought a novel solution that we now have an EVM compatible layer two running on top of Algorand. So basically, if you are a developer in the Ethereum ecosystem and you have your Solidity code, you can basically just drag and drop, plug and play your Solidity code, and you execute directly on the Algorand blockchain through the layer two that we have released, and then you basically have the Algorand mainnet as the data availability layer. And for the first time in history, now you can truly execute your Solidity code with instant finality, right? Because that's something that John mentioned that Algorand is truly known because it's a blockchain that has instant finality. So right now you can execute your Solidity code, but basically inheriting all the amazing primitives that the Algorand mainnet, our base layer, has. So yes, we do have a layer one already in production for all the EVM fans out there.
Yeah, so I guess when people hear about layer twos, it's mainly like on Ethereum enabling scalability. But in Algorand's case, because Algorand itself, the TPS is I saw in the Binance article is around 6,000.
Yeah.
So I guess natively the blockchain already enables a high amount of TPS. But the layer two, like the role that the layer two plays here is actually enabling developers in the EVM ecosystem to migrate over. So yeah, I got a great answer, Fred. Sorry. All right, next question from Rohana1 is, I guess, in terms of like the roadmaps you mentioned, there's something coming out, but anything you can touch on in terms of like the Algorand roadmap in 2023?
Absolutely. Well, I think John has done a fantastic job basically covering what the priorities are, but I think we can break this down a little bit. So speaking on behalf, but not for Algorand Inc., Algorand Inc., who, as John mentioned, develops the protocol. They have already announced there's going to be a series of protocol upgrades this year. So they're going to continue releasing, upgrades, performance upgrades and more amazing tooling for the actual, the base layer for the Algorand protocol. And then here on the Algorand Foundation side, John made it clear that the priorities number 1, 2, and 3 are developer experience. So we have a lot of amazing goodies coming for basically all the developers to make their lives, 10, 100 times easier through Algorand Kit and some other features they're working on. And of course, we continue to build and expand on nurturing, growing our ecosystem, our community throughout all fronts. And of course, as I mentioned before, we have the Algorand governance program, which is a very strong program, and that's about to grow much stronger because we're going to be just relaying back a lot of the decision-making power back to the community and allow them to also propose measures that themselves can vote afterwards. So there's a lot of many interesting things coming up in the pipeline for 2023 that we're very much excited about. This is a great time at Algorand.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Fred, for the answers. So I think those we are already 10 minutes past the hour. So thank you guys from the audience and chat for submitting so many quality questions. Unfortunately, we do have limited time, so that's all we can cover today. So let's move on to the next section. So Fred, I will need you to hold my hand in this section. But all right, so we do have a prize quiz at the end. So for as longtime viewers of the Binance support and AMAs, you probably already know that for the PPT, we cover most of the questions that will be asked in the prize quiz. So do pay attention, and we also do cover a lot of the key points that we went over during the AMA. But once again, Fred, I will need I need some assistance on the technicalities. But first off, about Algorand, as John has mentioned, there is a very strong foundation in the founding team. So Algorand is founded by Professor Silvio Micali in 2017. The network is in 2017, and then the company was founded earlier, or
The company was founded in 2017, but the network
okay.
actually went online in 2019. Yes.
Not 2019. Yeah, okay. And so Silvio has won the Turing Award. I guess for those that aren't in this computer science space, the Turing Award is something similar to like the Nobel Prize of the in the, in the computer science space,
Definitely.
right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's
Turing Award is known. Yeah, is known as Nobel Prize for Computer Science. But not only that, Silvio has also won another two awards called the RSA Award and the Godel Award, and those are basically the highest honors that you can receive as a mathematician, as a cryptographer, as a computer scientist. So Silvio basically has won them all.
So yeah, even as John has mentioned with John's track record, you can see in John's eyes that he also is very looks up to Silvio as well. So a very strong founder, very strong technicals uh, for the Algorand technical team, software team. So like John mentioned, Algorand is a layer 1 proof of stake blockchain. So here John has also elaborated that it's a form of proof of stake called pure proof of stake, where we will dive further in the next slide. And of course, Algorand focus on scalability, security, and resilience. So as you can see in Fred's name tag and John's name tag, Fred and John are both from the Algorand Foundation, and the difference there between the Algorand Foundation and Algorand Inc. is the Algorand Inc. Is a US-based entity focusing on software development of the core, I guess, Algorand program, and then the foundation is for the ecosystem development, including hackathons, grants, community research, governance, so on and so forth. So here we talk about during the AMA, we also talked a lot about pure proof of stake and efficiency of the AVM. So we mentioned AVM, and John also gave us a crash course on what virtual AVM is. Algorand virtual machines. John gave us a crash course on what virtual machines are, what EVMs are, so Ethereum virtual machines, and what Algorand virtual machine is. And generally, virtual machines are the brains of these blockchain networks or of the computers. And so Algorand's the AVM sort of the Algorand's own version of this brain. And you meant, Fred, you also just mentioned that there's a layer 2 to support the EVM ecosystem out there, so encompassing almost all of the blockchain space. And then so proof of stake blockchains, I guess in contrast to pure proof of stake consensus, proof of stake blockchains, like we mentioned during the AMA, they are scalable often at the cost of a small number of validators. So for take Ethereum, for example, there's a barrier to entry of 32 ETH in order to become a validator, whereas on Algorand, there's only the barrier to entry is only 1 algo, which I guess in terms compared with Ethereum network is way lower. So I guess it would be much more decentralized in a way. And then compared with proof of work, which I guess is the biggest difference, or generally all proof of stake differs from proof of work in the sense that proof of work requires computation to reach consensus. So it takes up a lot of energy. And Algorand adopts proof of stake, where it is much more energy efficient. And
Absolutely.
in addition, you mentioned John also mentioned that there's the purchase of carbon credits to make it become carbon negative. Fred, did you want to add anything here?
Yeah, so I guess just to clarify a little bit on the pure proof of stake part, the pure part, it really comes from like this philosophical idea that Silvio and the team had back in the day. Because for it to be truly democratic and available to all, not only you must be able to participate in consensus with any amount. As John mentioned, you just said it very well. It takes as little as one algo for you to participate in consensus, but it's also that it's open to everybody in the sense of like hardware requirements, right? Because if you look at validators to become a validator in some of these other, other competing blockchains, it truly takes pretty much a supercomputer for you to run a node, right? And in Algorand, we have given the construct of pure proof of stake built on top of the verifiable random functions. You have this consensus protocol that is so light and so efficient, but at the same time extremely secure that it can basically run on almost any computer. I'm not going to say any computer, but almost any computer. So, for example, I've been running my own node right next to me for the past 3 years or so, and it's just a regular office computer from like 2012. So it's it's like 11 years old now, and it's been running my protocol, no, my consensus node for 2 years now, basically nonstop, no issues. So it's truly democratic in the sense that anybody can participate as long as they have at least one algo and just a regular computer. Then I usually, I like to joke that if you have a computer that if you plug in the wall and the green light turns on, it's probably enough to run the Algorand consensus protocol. So that's the motivation, basically, that anybody can participate. Doesn't matter, how many algos they have or what kind of like computer hardware setup they have.
Yeah, thanks so much for the clarification, Fred. So here, there is an elaboration on the lower barrier to entry, and I think correcting myself here, it's 0.1 algo, not 1 algo. And then John also during the AMA mentioned that for choosing the validator to propose a new block, the Algorand adopts a function called the verifiable random function, the VRF, which John also elaborated a lot on. But the randomness, I guess, contributes to the security of the blockchain. So I think generally the takeaway here is that VRF is a way to produce a pseudo-random output, which contributes to the security. And in terms of metrics, or in terms of the data, Algorand it achieves instant finality every 3.7 seconds and processes up to 6,000 TPS, which we just mentioned. And the algo token has a max supply of 10 billion, and it's used for transaction fees and can be registered as a block proposer or validator, just so in this case, I guess it's staking, and then used for participate in governance. Algo can be used to participate in the governance programs. So like Fred mentioned, if you want to get involved in the governance and get involved in communities, this will be used as a medium to participate in those. And once again, I'm Larry from the Binance Earn team. So the Simple Earn product, we offer also Algorand as well, where you can choose the different products, the different durations here, and earn yields, where we also act sort of like a validator on the Algorand network. All right, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. So while the people join the prize quiz here, Fred, was there anything I missed and anything that you'd like to go back on?
No, you covered everything extremely well, and I'm so grateful that we got a chance to have John here for the entire hour. Listening to him talk about Algorand and just watching space is always a treat. So I truly appreciate the opportunity, Larry. It's been fun, but hey, I think it's become clear that the community has had some really amazing questions, a lot of amazing questions on our technology. So maybe we're gonna have to, do a deeper dive on Algorand sometime soon. We're very excited about it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the audience are definitely more tech savvy than me. I don't even understand. Sometimes I don't even understand the questions, but I'm definitely going to do more homework in our next segment. But it's great to see that we have such. I was just speaking with the Algorand team, saying that let's try to keep this beginner friendly. But yeah, after looking at the chat history, it seems like I'm the only newbie here. So
Well,
it's great to see that we have such a tech savvy community.
Absolutely, but we have John to bridge from the highly technical to the content that everybody can consume and appreciate. But other than that, again, if I may just extend another invitation to the entire Binance community, the Binance family, if you're interested about everything that you learned today about Algorand, make sure to follow us in our channels, and also you can stay in the loop. We have so many amazing things happening for our community, for our ecosystem, for our governance program. Many technological upgrades are about to hit the road in the upcoming weeks. So make sure to follow us, and thank you, Larry, for putting the link here. So if you're on Twitter, follow us at Algo Foundation. Also follow us at Algorand over there as well. And as I said before, if you're a Discord person, just go to Discord GG/Algorand. If you're a Reddit user, go to Reddit, r/Algorand official. And if you follow these channels, you're going to be on par of everything that's happening on the Algorand ecosystem, and it's a great place to be involved. It's a great time to be involved because we have many amazing things coming up soon that I'm super excited about.
All right, so thanks so much, Fred. I think that wraps it up. For the viewers, if you didn't catch the QR code, there's going to be a replay in like 5 minutes after I end the session, so you can just refresh and go to finish up on the prize quiz. So generally, the prize quiz will last for 2 days. You try to finish it in under 24 hours. And the rewards, if you get all the questions correct, you will split that prize pool, and then the rewards will be distributed within 30 days. So once again, thank you so much, Fred, and extend my thanks to John as well. I'll pass it on. I think this was a super informative session, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys put a lot of emphasis on education, on like the fundamentals, which I guess this greatly benefits viewers, myself, and the community as a whole. But once again, it's great to have you on. I hope to see you guys again. Any last comments, Fred?
No, that's it, Larry. Just want to thank you and the entire Binance team, for making this come to fruition. This has been a long time in the works, so I truly appreciate the space. It has been a pleasure, and I'm already looking forward to our next conversation. Okay, talk to you soon.
Awesome. All right. So see you guys soon. We do have some AMAs planned in March.
Yo, that shit was amazing. In my personal opinion, in my humble opinion, I think that in the last 2 weeks, Algorand has done more marketing than they've done in the entire freaking year. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but it is to that point. By the way, if you want some really cool gear, Eat, Sleep, Algorand, Repeat. I also have gear of other cryptocurrencies. I have a link down below, 15% off. Look, Stacy Warden did 3 interviews in 10 days. John Allen Wood and Fred did this AMA right now. It's huge. There's going to be a lot of eyes and ears. And you could see by the questions, a lot of people still don't realize how good Algorand is. Most people are used to Binance. Most people are used to Ethereum. Most people are used to Polygon or Cardano. Algorand just works. Algorand is freaking amazing, and they have so many things going for them, and most people don't know. You see by the questions and by the answers. This guy was like shocked. I know this question guy, he was like nobody special, but he was shocked. Like, what's going on, right? So this is definitely a really good step in the right direction. Guys, I will get out off of this right now. I will repost everything. If you guys want to check it out later, please join my Discord. I have 2 channels, Crypto 411 and Crypto Millionaire Loading. Yo, True Ducal, what's up, baby? Good to see you. I'll see you guys later. Please subscribe to my channels. Take care. Bye-bye.